question, is Stephen Avery guilty or not? It's the answer to the question. The question is the answer. And no, it's not. And for me, there's a lot of things I won't understand of positions and being in positions like solicitors, lawyers in the States. So there's a lot of things that I'll never understand, on kind of where people's opinions are in this. But what I do know is nothing's going to change by people sitting on the fence. Nothing will change if people, who should be leading that kind of opinion of Stephen and Brendan being innocent. Nothing will change if it's left to people, like me and other people of the public, because we have no authority, we have no influence, we have nothing we can do as the average people on the streets in any kind of change like that. So in my opinion, people shouldn't sit on the fence. People should say what is there. People should say what is obvious. People should say what they believe, because change only comes from those at the front, not those at the back. It's beyond an unbelievable case, is Stephen Avery and Brendan Dasser. I've never watched and read anything like it in my life, and I've watched the Darrell Hunt case, another unbelievable miscarriage of justice. Reuben Carter, I watched the film The Hurricane with Daniel Washington, another unbelievable miscarriage of justice. And miscarriage of justice has been happening for decades and decades and decades. People abusing their power have happened for decades and decades and decades. People in positions have got away with things for decades, decades and decades. And I don't know in recorded history anyone ever facing, gone to prison, being convicted of any corruption case. I mean, you may get a few, there may be references out there, but they're only kind of scapegoats to make it look like we're living a kind of a justice type of society where people are brought to book. And there have been many people who died in prison, I believe, innocent. And there are many people now in prison, innocent. And there will continue to be people in prison, innocent. This is not just the only case of miscarriage of justice ever. It's been going on for a long time. And when people sit on the fence and have that, well, I don't know, or have that position of, I'd rather not say, that's no example. If the people at the front are not saying what everyone's thinking, it's got to come from the front. Say what you believe. These police, have committed a crime under the law. They have committed every crime going within the judicial system, the police system, procedure, witnesses, everything going. They are broken. And that can only change when people speak up, when people speak out, when people unite under that one belief of innocence. Because if we have a question in the air lingering, is he or not, and we're too afraid to say he is innocent, when it's right there, then what can change? Nothing can change unless people say what is there and what they believe. And the fact the question is being asked, it's the answer to the question. This is beyond doubt that Stephen, is innocent. It's beyond doubt that he is innocent of this crime. And why Why do people seem to even think that's even like can't happen? I mean, the first case, 1985, they knew Stephen Avery was innocent. He had an alibi. 513 was his alibi. He had the receipt. 16 witnesses, I believe. He had details of that day, 29th of July 1985. The police were watching Gregory Allen on the 29th of July 1985. Denise Vogel, the district attorney, knew of Gregory Allen in 1983 because he prosecuted Gregory Allen from a similar crime on the same beach as Penny Bernstein. So he knew of Gregory Allen in 1983. Tom Bergner, a Montauk City police officer, warned Tom Couchier, the sheriff of Montauk Sheriff's Department, warned him about Gregory Allen. 3 staff members of Dennis Vogel warned Dennis Vogel about Gregory Allen. So that's twice. Well before Stephen Avery was convicted, and Stephen Avery has got an alibi. He has got a receipt, he has got that day planned out, he's got witnesses. So they knew about Gregory Allen in 1983, Dennis Vogel, so that would have rung alarm bells. They were watching Gregory Allen, a known sex offender, well known to the Montauk area. They were watching him on that day. So if a crime happens on that beach, and Stephen Avery has provided an alibi, and he's got it all there, then that should ring alarm bells in Dennis Vogel's mind that he prosecuted Gregory Allen in 1983 from the same beach as the attack on Penny Bernstein. So they've got that, and then they've got 3 warnings from staff members of Dennis Vogel. So if that doesn't ring alarm bells, I don't know what type of kind of alarm bells people need ringing for them to hear that alarm bell going off. So they knew the investigation was completely persuading. They watched Stephen in prison. They constructed that. They constructed that, and then Stephen gets convicted. Then in 1995, DNA has advanced, and the fingernail scrapings are analysed, and it rules Stephen Avery out as a possible suspect. It rules him not his. But no further investigations were done to rule anybody else out. There were no leads followed to see if there were any other suspects at all. The husband wasn't ruled out. The police who were about the ambulance wasn't ruled out. Yet it wasn't Stephen Avery. So was it? Because no one else was ruled out again. It breaks every procedure in the book, doesn't it? That is not how things would go in an investigation, especially when you've got somebody whose fingernail scrapings they're not. Brown County Correctional Facilities phoned Montauk, and the detective spoke to Andrew Colburn and said they'd got someone in their custody who was saying there was somebody in the Montauk custody who shouldn't be there. Now Andrew Colburn would have followed orders. He would have spoke to a detective, and he says that, and he would have done. He would have passed that information on. So now they've got Gregory Allen's name again. So they had it in 85, 3 times in 85, and now I've got it again in 95, and now I've got the fingernail scrapings as well. That exempts Stephen Avery, yet puts someone else there. Knowledge are done, and now they've got Gregory Allen's name again. That's 4 times. Was that information followed through? Now, how many people was in Montauk who shouldn't have been there? How many people was in a Montauk correctional facilities that someone could have, not known who they were on about? And if that detective phoned, surely Gregory Allen's name must have been passed forward. I am a detective from Brown County Facilities, correctional facilities. We've got Gregory Allen. He's saying you've got Stephen Avery. Surely, and if not Stephen Avery, the name, surely they must have heard about the case. And Gregory Allen surely must have given his name. There must be some exchange of name. So they must have had Gregory Allen's name. They must have had Gregory Allen's name. That's the 4th time. that wasn't done 8 years later because of the DNA and the final exoneration. He was set free. But they knew in 1985 that Stephen Avery was innocent of the Penny Bursting crime. They knew it was Gregory Allen. The investigation, into that crime of Penny Bernstein. Why? I don't like saying this like I'm saying it now. I was posting things on Facebook, and then just certain words I was saying, it kind of I didn't feel right mentioning certain parts of certain bits, like a lot of people were doing, and that's not a judgment. I was doing the very same thing, but then other people, were kind of jumping on this like a hype. People who didn't care jumping on this like it's entertainment, jumping on this like it's some kind of trend. Just words like I said last video, spoiler alert. People were jumping on this. An almost like phenomenon, of this like who done it case and all these Inspector Gadgets, Inspector Morses and all these kind of people out there. I didn't want to be one of those people, and I'm aware that my opinion means nothing in the sense of legality, authority. I have no position of power. I can't do anything. It's not evidence that's needed. Theories are needed for the word to spread and people to talk about it and highlight this injustice. Not only this injustice, but the past injustice, what's happened, and the past injustice, what happening now that we don't know about. So, I don't like speaking about it because to me, it's not entertainment, it's not a trend, it's not a kind of thing where, oh, I can't believe you just told me that. Oh, I was going to watch that episode next. Oh, you've just spoiled for me. Like this telling the twist in the story. This is not what this is about. This is real life. This was on Netflix, because that's a company, who bought it, right? And that's where it's got to the mass public with the association with Facebook, social media. That's why it's on Netflix. People have to take away Netflix entertainment and put this, real life that just happens to be on Netflix entertainment, but separate the words and understand this is not entertainment. And I didn't want to speak about this because of those reasons, and just mentioning Teresa's name so flippantly, like it meant nothing, and almost people speak about Teresa's name just to get to Stephen Avery. It's because of Teresa's, death that the police did not investigate. There's no investigation needed here, in the sense of they made mistakes. There was incompetent. No. Making mistakes and being incompetent would suggest they did the investigation but made mistakes and was incompetent. They didn't investigate anything because their aim was to frame Stephen Avery. That's the whole purpose, so theories and evidence are not needed. Spreading the message is. But people jumping on the money trail. John Cameron, an ex-FBI agent, like that has some kind of credibility when an FBI agent sat on the stand and testified against the blood vial, about the blood vial. People don't understand the scale of how serious this is. People think Stephen will get exonerated and just walk out like nothing's happened. It's much more serious than that. And that's a number of reasons why I didn't want to speak about it. But now, I'm speaking about it like behind closed doors anyway, so I suppose in that kind of sense, I will speak openly about it because I'm seeing where things could be going here, and if I think where things are going, and then I'll speak openly because I think I've got some interesting thoughts, thoughts that can't change anything, but thoughts that can be heard, and the more thoughts that are heard, that's when change can happen, and each person's thought, is important for the scale of it. We've all got a right, to speak about these things no matter where in the world we are. Because every single thought, every single opinion is what ultimately makes change. And the more people that keep quiet, no change happens and these people get away with what they're doing. Now that's not right, that's not justice, and I don't want to live in a world like that. Where I feel almost, not scared, but have this kind of fear, of knowing the system, knowing police, knowing the power. But I don't like speaking certain words, so that's why I stopped speaking about it. But where now I am, and when I'm mentioning things like Penny Bernstein, You know, time does not change the reality of what happened to Penny Bernstein and what she went through. I could never understand. I could never imagine. I never want to imagine. You know, so time has no healer. You know, of reality. You know, crime for people. You know, stays at that day. It doesn't move forward in a position like that. And when I'm mentioning things like that, I don't want to do that. But I'm going to start doing these videos now. You know, because I believe, you know, that people can't be in positions and just do what they like. They're getting paid by the taxpayer, you know, to put people in prison for crimes. And they're getting paid by the taxpayer to put innocent men in prison to protect their own crimes. Now that's not right. That's not right. And how can anyone do what they like and just get away with it? There is enough evidence in that case to warrant arrest right now. There is enough evidence for Kathleen Zeller now to be able to get a retrial. And I question why it's so prolonged, why it's taking so much time, why there's so much delay when the evidence is right there to open the case again, right from the beginning. But again, people don't understand the scale. I like to have a sense of hope, because if you don't have hope, you don't have anything. And I like to think someone was fighting for Stephen Avery. I really do hope that people are fighting for Stephen Avery, people are fighting for Brendan Dassey. I quickly say this as well. Barb Yander is now Barb Taddick. She's in the worst position anyone can imagine. She's in that county, she's with Scott, she's surrounded by the Monterey police. You don't know what Scott has said to her over the years. You don't know how he's manipulated the situation, because that's my opinion, based on what the evidence is there, what I'm seeing, based on my own logic. You know, Scott, you know, has got a lot there for a suspect and for the case to be reopened. And Barb's in a position where she's got a son in prison, she's got another son, possibly, I know I said in my last video is part of it, but possibly part of it, or some major connection there. So now where is she? She's got a son in prison and she's got one out of prison. She's in the worst position anyone could be. And she's got Scott, who could be saying all kinds of things. He could be saying he could, you know, get the police to do things. You don't know these things. And I'm basing that on what I'm seeing. I'm basing that on what I can see. And just based on what is there. Not my own thinking with no surrounding factors. It's right there to see. Anyway, I think I'll leave that one there. But Barb's in a position, you know, the family's in a position, they're in a position of surrounded by the people who have got everything to hide. And people talk about, you know, cases and judges. These are the people who decide what gets admitted to court or not. The people who've got everything to hide and want to brush it under the carpet, you know, are the ones who are in control, who walks on the carpet. You know, they're the ones who make the decision what gets into court and what doesn't. They're the ones ultimately the decision, you know, of a retrial. And they're the people who have got everything to lose and everything, you know, every motive to hide things and prolong things and delay things. You know, it's like asking someone to investigate themselves for their own crime. I'd like to put a complaint in or against you. Right, okay then. I will investigate what you're saying, and I will lose everything. I will lose my reputation, lose my own. I will lose my respect from people, public confidence, the rest of it for you. So I will honestly do an investigation, and I will investigate myself and come back and tell you if I'm guilty or not. Then they come back and say, I'm sorry, I've investigated myself. The crime you're saying I've committed, I decide that I'm not guilty of that crime, because if I admit, right, and say I'm guilty, and you know, that'll destroy my life. So that's why I have no confidence within the justice system, the legal system. And the more times people sit on the fence, the more times other people, you know, won't even come near the fence. Leadership has to come from the front. You know, that say of innocence has to come from the people who are in positions who can speak, and the rest will follow. Those people at the front need to say he's innocent, and he is innocent. It goes beyond doubt that he's innocent. It comes from the front, not from the back. So that's what I will say. But again, there's a lot of things I don't understand. But Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey are innocent. Set them free.